Now, a year today, the doors will open to the new hospital for North Bristol and has been built with a £430 million private finance initiative deal. Can you tell us how much it's all costing?
Well, we're talking about, it's about £1.2 million a month.
There's some criticism that it's too small even before it opens, is that right?
Well, it's only 50 fewer beds than at present on the two sites.
Our health correspondent Matthew Hill has been for a look round.
This is the hospital of the future, and one 32-bed ward at least is almost finished.
It's not until you're here that you realise the immense space they've created here at Southmead Hospital, Bristol. And immense also could be how you would describe the task they've got ahead to move 800 patients over just a few days from the other sites at Southmead and Frenchay.
We'll move the Southmead patients over 2 or 3 days. We'll then move outpatients over the weekend, and then we'll start to bring the patients over from Frenchay, starting with the emergency department.
Of the 800 beds, 600 will be single rooms with their own ensuite facilities, and the rest are arranged in wards of 4 beds, but designed for privacy and a view. And this is what's going to be demolished, buildings at Frenchay that were only meant to be used as a temporary measure in the Second World War, still in full use today. Frenchay's Accident and Emergency Department will also be moved into the heart of the new PFI building at Southmead, with a minor injuries unit next door. It'll mean for the first time patients can have life-saving scans while in emergency care, and there should be even safer staffing levels.
Our long-term aim would be to have consultants on the shop floor 24/7 in the emergency department seeing patients. We currently have that service for our multiply injured trauma patients. We currently have a very high level of cover for consultants, but only until 11 o'clock at night. Long term, we'd love to deliver that 24/7. Obviously, that means more consultants.
The private finance initiative has come under criticism for being too expensive in the long run. This will be one of the last major PFI projects to open. The hospital believes that it's because it's managed to strike a better deal with the developers that it will also be one of the most affordable.
Well, Matthew is here now. Matthew, it looks very squished, doesn't it? But there's some criticism that it's too small even before it opens, is that right?
Well, it's only 50 fewer beds than at present on the two sites, but there is something else going on in the background which is of concern. Under Labour, they set up these private centres, these treatment centres, like the one at Emerson's Green and Shepton Mallet, and they were expecting far more patients to choose to go to those centres, but that hasn't happened in reality, which means that the new hospital at Southmead is going to have to take on far more patients for these bog standard operations they weren't expecting to do. So there are talks going on in the background with consultants about how they do that by extending operating hours. Perhaps we can go to see an outpatient consultation in the evening. That's something which they're looking at. That may be good for patients, but it's something which is something that has to be sorted out.
You touched on the issue of money. Can you tell us how much it's all costing?
Well, we're talking about, it's about £1.2 million a month. That seems like a lot of money, but that's for the buildings themselves. But it is a much cheaper deal than the other PFI deals that were done years ago. For instance, in the past, if you needed a light bulb change, you needed to call the company to change a light bulb, and that could cost you £100. But they've made sure that if a light bulb needs changing, they do it themselves.
OK, Matthew, thank you very much. Thank you.
Will the region's new super hospital be ready to open a year today?
Now it's exactly a year today until the region's newest and biggest hospital finally opens to the public. Work on the £430 million site in Southmead is on schedule.
The new building will see 75% of the beds in single rooms with ensuite facilities. The hospital will be renamed as Southmead Hospital Bristol. Wesley Smith reports now on the final stages of the city's biggest building project since Cabot Circus.
The clock is ticking for the 850 builders at the new Southmead Hospital. By this time next year, they need to be long gone, as the doors open to patients and their families who'll finally be able to access all medical services under one roof. Arriving on this ward will be unlike anything available now.
Relatives, visitors will come up from the concourse through these lift and stair calls and come through here into the main reception, which, you know, is a fabulous area. It's a real public face of the hospital. So they'll be greeted at this main reception desk here. and then they'll be able to be directed either left or right, depending on which ward area they want to visit.
It's nurse Jo Annion's job to ensure the ideas of frontline medical staff are at the forefront of the design. There are a number of spacious 4-bed wards, but 3/4 of patients will be treated in single rooms.
There's many real advantages to having single rooms, obviously for infection prevention and control, privacy and dignity, so you have your own room. There's also the issue of gender separation, so it's much easier to plan your bed base. And then the one thing to me, which is the real material advantage, is being able to get a good night's sleep.
There's a lot of glass, colour-coded so you don't get lost, but also wood to absorb sound. There are gardens, and trees will even be placed inside the atrium, where there'll be a cafe and a restaurant. And the underfloor heating is in the process of being installed. It'll live under tiles similar to these in the new waiting area. It's a new start for the emergency department too. The major trauma centre at Frenchay will move in.
The fact we're so much closer to the emergency beds, again, speeds the patient process through their stay, and the fact we've got all the expertise on one site for once is fantastic. They don't have to go outside for an x-ray, which they do at the moment.
The whole process of undergoing an operation will also be very different here. You'd be taken from your ward to a dedicated glass front waiting area before being brought into theatre for your anaesthetic before surgery. It's the ethos of Southmead to bring care directly to the patient. The ventilation system is used in the States and aims to create the cleanest possible environment. Just 1 year from today, the biggest hospital in the southwest will open its doors. 800 beds, 24 operating theatres, pretty much everything state of the art. So can they make that date?
Yes, absolutely. We've been working very hard on our plans. We visited lots of other hospitals that have commissioned their buildings and moved patients in to learn from what worked well, what didn't work so well. So we've got all of our plans ready to go.
So it's all systems go for an on-time opening on the 28th of May 2014, changing the face of healthcare in Bristol and beyond. Wesley Smith, ITV News.
It looks like an incredible new facility,
it
doesn't
really
it?
does, and en suite as well.
Yeah.